Good afternoon. We want to welcome you this afternoon to YouTube channel Hope Talk SA, where we are bold and unapologetic, where we're going to deal with some real, gut level issues. We want to talk about stuff that's happening within our country, within our city, and it's going to sound controversial, but I think that we need to talk about these things that are happening today because it affects us all, regardless of our ethnicity, regardless of where we find ourselves as demographic, different demographics. But yeah, be that as it may, we want to talk about a very hot topic this afternoon, and that is none other than the collaboration between the South African National Defence Force and the South African Police Service. All right, so we're going to try and dig into it as best as we possibly can with the little info that we have. And with me today, I have two of my good learned friends. They can introduce themselves to you just shortly. And we're going to then start unpacking this conversation. And we hope that you enjoy. Please do like, do comment, and do share. We do value your participation. There will be a number that will be floating across the screen shortly or just before the end of this program. And you can, find us on YouTube, and that is Hope Talk SA. It's live right now. You can always go and watch later if you don't get the opportunity to do so right now. But we're going to dig into it and just and right now. But firstly, let me ask my guests, my dear friends, to introduce themselves to us this afternoon. Terry.
Yep, my name is Terry Martin, born in the Cape, deserted the Cape in 1991, moved to Joburg, lived in Joburg for 35 years, and now after retirement, retreading back in the Cape Town, in the Cape area, in Gordons Bay. So we've only been back for 2 years, so yeah, have grown in our concern for what is happening in the Cape, but it's really been a learning curve for us. You think things stay the same, they just don't. So good to be in contact with Owen, first of all, and just getting our feet wet again. But yeah, great concerns for the Cape, and I think that's what brings me to this platform. So glad to be with you and glad to meet Dean. I think this is our second time of least seeing each other. So looking forward to getting to know him a lot better.
Well, thank you very much, Terry, and it's good to have you on the show here this afternoon. I am certain that you can bring great value to this conversation, without doubt. Dean.
Hi there, good afternoon, Owen, Terry. Thank you very much for the invite. I appreciate it. Yeah, what I must help, very interestingly, as Terry has gone to Joburg. I was originally born in Johannesburg, and then because of stuff has happened, my mum has then, of course, had to leave Johannesburg and gone back into the Platteland, which is referred to as an Uppington. It's a medium-sized little town, and grew up there, and then end up in Cape Town around about 1982. Since then has been back and forth into Uppington and then also starting to settle here in Cape Town. But yeah, myself coming from a very deep place of having done many harm and hurt to myself and to others around me, and I had to learn ultimately to walk the journey. And for me, it's where I am in my life. It is be accountable. We unfortunately live in a society, in a world where very many people wants to affect various changes and various things, but optimally fail to be accountable. And I've come to learn to walk that journey today, and that is where I am. And but largely I'm working directly with people trapped in addiction, people trapped in gangsterism, living on the streets, trapped in prostitution, working with very broken and hurtful people out there. And it's been a wonderful privilege for me, very, very demanding, very challenging often, many times, being overwhelmed by the stories that I heard of people. But yeah, that is as much as I want to say now.
All right, thank you, Dean. I'm sure you have much to say. As we're going to navigate our way through these programs, this is just the beginning. I think of a few more that would follow, but we will keep you posted and updated with all of the information in terms of the next episode or the next broadcast that we would have, because I'm sure there is much to talk about. I know Dean has much to say, and from personal knowing him personally for a while, and being involved in with work out there in the community together, as we collaborated and done a lot of things together, good things, by the way. And yeah, we needed to engage at certain times, but we're going to unpack all those things a little later as we move along. All right, so gentlemen, thank you very much for being on Hope Talk SA today. It is a wonderful privilege and a blessed opportunity that we have here with you in the studio, on the other side of the world, of the country, by the way. I'm overwhelmed just with what is happening. There's a lot of positive things happening, but it seems as if the negatives are really taking over and creating so much. So much, what's the word I'm looking for? So much confusion amongst our people. Just this often, by the way, allow me to mention this. And I said to my wife, if only I had a camera, I'd have captured this and used it on my program this often on the broadcast. And just as we were on our way, from the, where the Ottery Mall is, the macro, the wholesale place, a truck lost its load, and it was loaded with beverages. Ah man, I'm telling, just opposite the fire station, and I'm telling you, the way people were running and looting and helping themselves, and there was it was disturbing the flow of traffic, but they just couldn't care two hoots. They just went ahead and helped themselves. And I said to myself, you know what, this is really not on. A lawless society that we are living in. Law enforcement wasn't anywhere to be found, so I guess it happened just a couple of minutes before we hit that section in Ottery. So this and many other things are happening on our watch, and sometimes we turn the blind eye to it. We just pass it by and say, look, they're going to have to be responsible and accountable for what they've done, but they're getting away. And like they are getting away, there's so many people getting away. With not too many good things, and we want to look at that. We want to just dive into that quickly, if you would allow me to, and just get into the conversation, because with everything that's happening politically in our country, there's so much confusion and people are not knowing what's happening. With all the killings, I think Dean can add a lot to this one, as we move along and journey through these podcasts, but it's affecting everybody. It doesn't just affect you and me. It affects the whole world. It affects everyone else. Sadly, that we are known as the crime capital of the world. And I want us to talk this often about our colored people and our communities, because I cannot speak on behalf of the other. I can speak about what's happening on the ground here, in our own communities where we reside. So we want to talk about the joint venture or the joint effort that has been decided by our president, Mr. Ramaphosa, as to how a difference, a change can be brought within our communities, within our city, especially on the Cape Flats. I know other parts of the country as well, but we are here on the Cape Flats. Also Kaapse mense, and we grew up here. We were groomed here. We did stuff together, with other folk as well. So we know what it's like to be out there on the street. But will this venture and with the president deploying the South African National Defence Force, and we know it's going to cost a lot of money once again, I think to the tune of 800 million rand, which is a lot of money, which can be used, I think, somewhere else more effectively. But I want us to talk about this afternoon. Will it make a difference? Will it make a difference? Will the South African National Defence Force, the army, will that make a difference in our communities as they would collaborate as a force multiplier with the South African Police Service? And this is here on the Cape Flats to eradicate crime, gangsterism, violence, drugs, and all that evils that we are facing, today. Will that make a difference? Let's talk, gentlemen. And how? And how will it make a difference? Terry.
Oh, and as I come into the situation after such a long time living outside of the scenario, first of all overseas, and then predominantly up here in Joburg, coming back to the Cape and seeing what has happened, for me it was like shell shock. I mean, I visited the Cape probably once a year, because my parents were down there, and but that's about it. But to see how far the situation has come, and now the armed forces go in. Last time I remember, the armed forces in the township was starting in 76. 76. And then in the 80s, and then there was one more time after that I remember, but basically I was outside of it by then. And to see how devastated our communities are, especially our dear folk from mixed backgrounds like we are, the devastation is absolutely overwhelming, because probably I didn't expect that. I was expecting something very different. In my naivete, I would say something very different. So it's like shell shock for me, and I'm fumbling, talking to people, reading things, watching broadcasts and podcasts, and listening to the pandemonium and the scattered suggestions. And so as I hear about the armed forces, the SANDF coming into the communities, I have so many more questions than just saying, well, they're coming in to restore law and order. Because the first thing that comes up with me is, what about the supporting dialogues from the communities that need to be listened to and need to participate? Obviously not on maintaining that law and order as the armed forces would do, but our contributions back into the situation. My question is what are the initiatives that are support mechanisms that come in alongside of the SANDF? That was my question, and that's why I guess I would love for us to be dialoguing around it. So you guys could probably help me here a lot better, because I'm so on the outside of that.
Yeah, I'm sure it must have come to you as a culture shock as well. I mean, 35 years, exactly 35 years out of Cape Town.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's half your lifetime, almost half your lifetime, isn't it? So it's been a long time, and a lot has changed, Terry, within 35 years. A lot has changed. The entire culture seemed to have changed. It's a whole adapting to a new type of lifestyle, I think, here within the Cape. And especially, since 1994, a lot has changed. I sometimes wonder if it is not even worse than it was before. But I retract that statement right now. And this is the kind of thing that we need to face. Now I ask myself a question, and Dean, get ready, because I'm going to ask you as well to participate in this. I ask myself the question, when we look at the Western Cape or the Cape Flats, for example, predominantly colored folk, right? If I'm not mistaken, nationally, we have about just over 5 million colored people, right? And of course, you find the smaller minority, people's groups, and then you find the large minority group, the larger group of people, right? So why would it be necessary? Why would it be necessary to bring the South African National Defence Force into the Cape Flats for colored people? Because this is predominantly where the crime is happening. Terry, I think we just lost Dean there right now. This is largely where the crime is happening. Just a couple of days ago, I was watching the news 2 days ago. I think it was in Bishop Lavis, 3 people shot and killed, murdered. Boom. Yesterday in Delft, another 2 people. Today, some more people were shot and killed. Now, I ask myself the question, will this stop? If we were to, and Dean can give us the stats somehow, if we were to do a count, and we've done a count some time ago, Dean and I, and it was an alarming amount of people that were shot and killed just here on the Cape Flats, let alone Western Cape at large, but just on the Cape Flats. So will this make a difference? I'm wondering, will it make a difference? Why bring an army in for a minority, almost a minority group of people? Only 5 million people. Why specifically to the colored people? I'm just asking. There's so much happening on the other end, on the other side of the fence. So much corruption, murders daily on the other side of the fence. Why just to the colored people? And I'm not trying to, please, I'm not a racist, all right? I'm not a racist. I'm just asking myself some questions. Dean?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Yeah, if I could say just over this weekend, and still need to confirm some of my numbers, it's between 29 and 35 people that has been killed just over this past weekend. And in terms of my numbers, however, if I had to come in terms of what value will the army have, we got to go back to the previous time when the army was also released and to come and to assist. But what we come to find out, one of the biggest problems and challenges that we have with effective policing is this. There are no zero targeted policing. It's like a previous brigadier which served at Mitchell's Plain police station. He says, what is happening largely, it is, as he referred to, fishing operations. There is no targeted approach. Very specific focus operations. It is just you're driving around with a few vehicles, and as you're going along, you get somebody along the way, etc., etc. So when we're talking about targeted policing, we got, for instance, number one, if you want to start to hit at the core of gangsterism, one of the very big things is you got to get to the place of starting to eliminate and targeting what is referred to as Pelleposter drug houses. You got to identify them in each areas across the Cape Flats. Now I got various figures and numbers of key specific drug dens, Pelleposter across the Cape Flats. And not too long ago, and often, for instance, being in an Park, for instance, a failure of targeted policing. There are 84 very key drug dens in an Park. Hardly any of one of those drug dens are ever stop and search, happening on those premises. No individuals are being taken out. Then you're having key drug dens in places like Overcome Heights, Lavender Hill, Parkwood, is what is referred to the blocker in Ottery, Bishop Lavis areas, Mitchell's Plain, here where I live. The shocking reality is where I live. It is a few months ago, there were 27 known drug houses. The police regular driving up and down, law enforcement, etc., but the drug houses has increased from 27 to 35.
Oh, wow.
So you ask yourself, excuse me, what is actually happening here. So with the army coming in, and they will be coming in under the guidance of the police, but with the police grossly failing to having targeted operations of taking out particularly these drug houses we're having in certain communities where in daytime, in open spaces, no fear, what is referred to on the Cape Flats with the gangs sitting kring, meaning that they're sitting in a circle, that specific street gang, and they're making plans and they are giving instructions. And I have seen it personally for myself where police vans drive past. Then another critical challenge here in it is
I think we've just lost him.
Yeah, just lost some signal there.
Dropped.
It's interesting what the statistics, some of that Dean is raising here.
There's statistics, Owen, but I guess they've been around. Those stats have been around for a while, right?
Yeah,
They are statistics from week to week.
for a number of
Right.
years. For a number of
Yeah,
years.
so it's not like these are secrets. I mean, my just coming into the situation, I find it absolutely shocking that they're not, it's not all statistics that are being quoted. It's brand new stuff that's happening on the ground, day to day, week to week. And I guess the question that comes up in my mind, how in the world did we get here? Now, I have a suspicion of how we got here, but you know, it is such a, it's now become a monster, you know.
Yes.
And now you have to deal with this dragon. And how are you going to deal with the dragon?
Right. Right.
Yeah. That's, I
Sure.
guess, is my
Hold that thought there, Terry. That's
and these running stats is absolutely frightening.
It is. It is. I mean, you know, is there an answer? Dean, sorry, you were cut off there. Your signal was dropping and all kinds of stuff. So carry on. You know.
Yeah, if I could just expand a little bit, if we also see in terms of, you know, why does this, when you're talking about strategic and policing, effective policing, targeting places where they know where crime at that specific location in that specific area.
We're gone again. Sure.
Yeah, I think it's
the weather's very bad up here. I don't know what it's like down where you are. Is it quite overcast or not?
No, not really overcast. But I think the people, you know, on that side in Mitchell's Plain are having a challenge with Wi-Fi connectivity and all that. Yeah, so they're having a bit of a challenge there. Look, he'll come back again because I think he has much to share to the conversation, or in this conversation here this afternoon. But yeah, look, he talks about the Palaposta and all that kind of stuff. Now he knows. I mean, he's like boots on the ground. I think he's doing more work than the police themselves, because he has information where he deals directly with people.
With these guys.
Yeah, he just sent now that his phone is overheating a bit. He's going to shut it down.
Oh, shame.
Just respond to him here.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So and I
guess what we need to be about is we obviously don't want to talk around the problem. You know, we are saying what in the ideal world should have been happening here. Is government purely just listening to their impies on the ground, or are they listening to guys like Dean and others who are on the ground, you know, right in the trenches, giving a realistic picture?
That's the problem.
Is the government just in total denial?
Yeah, that's the problem, because if you look at what is happening, if you see what is happening, sorry, Terry, if you look at what is happening currently within the system, and I shouldn't even say I'm speaking under correction, because these are facts. It's presented every day, and I've been following meticulously. I've been following the Madlanga Commission and the SAP's ad hoc committee parliamentarians, all the MPs. And let me tell you something. There is so much political interference within the criminal justice system. It's unbelievable. Now I'm going to make some statements here because it's available on YouTube, and this is not thumb sucking here. There are so many, and I'm saying so many. I'm not going to mention their names because they know who they are. There are so many who are lying under oath. They lie. They blatantly lie under oath. Under oath. And what I'm hoping is to happen is that these will be brought to book, suspended, maybe even dismissed. Period. Because they don't fit the profile. They don't fit into the criminal justice system at all, because they themselves are involved in crime and criminality. These officials. So this is the problem. Ons sê in die Kaap, as 'n vis vrot, dan vrot hy van die kop af. When a fish goes bad, he goes bad from the head down, right? And it's happening in the top structures. And this is really no secret. I mean, it's out there. It's out there on not just on social media, but it's out there on national television. So it's there for everybody to see. The problem is that many people want to turn a blind eye to this kind of thing and say, that's not my business. It's my business. It is my business. I'm affected directly by what is happening in terms of all of these corrupt things that's happening within the top structure. Sorry, Dean, we lost you there. You don't look green anymore. Seems like you had a great transformation on that side. You're no longer the alpha.
Oh, no, that's great. You look
My
good. Yeah,
apologies.
sure.
Sorry, just something that is also very, very, very key here. Only if you look in terms of where police stations are located in the physical geographic areas that they are to cover as to where the crime is really completely out of control. And for the purpose of this conversation, I'm going to identify you 5 police stations that in terms of, and you would know where they are, in terms of where its physical locations is and where the critical crime and criminal activity is happening. For instance, if you take where Grassy Park Police Station is located, and it's vast here to cover, and if you're looking in terms of the critical areas from where its location is, where it's due to interventions in Parkwood,
Yeah, a couple of kilometers, a few kilometers away from Grassy Park. In any case, Parkwood, so.
Is Dean referring to the fact that they are located in the hotspots? Are they doing anything to help solve the problem, or are they exacerbating the problem, or are they part of the problem?
I think the last statement, the last question answers that. And some of them, I guess Dean will attest to what I'm saying. He'll confirm. Some of them are placed on the outskirts of these communities when everything is happening right inside in the middle. I'm maybe they should be set up within the heart of these communities, and maybe then. I see he's back. Let me just get him here. All right. Maybe then they'll be able to make a difference. Sorry, Dean, you got ruptured there again?
Yeah, no, it's got quite a bit of a challenges. But as you go through Grassy Park Police Station, you go to the Philippi Police Station, which needs to serve Hanover Park, which is an explosive area, then having to carry another about 5 square kilometers within the farming community. And the crime and criminality that's happened. Then you got to go through to where the Elsies River Police Station is located. Where that police station is located and the geographic area that police station have to cover. The same as you going to particular where Mitchell's Plain Police Station is located. And the physical size and the geographic area that it needs to cover, where you have on any given day, now we're talking about resources and capacity, where at any of these police stations, if you have a maximum of 7 visible members, police vehicles monitoring the area, stuff like that. If you have 7 visible members, vehicles actively on the ground, and that's a lot. Because most times you only have about 3, or sometimes only 2. So effective policing does not happen. Another issue that I've raised when the new incoming, which is now suspended police minister came in, the issue that I've raised in terms of, again, effective policing is how would you effectively deal with corruption or alleged corruption within police stations? It says one thing that definitely needs to be made is a lifestyle and both lifestyle and financial audits needs to be run through all, from the very basic constable right up to the highest ranking officer, to the brigadier, the station commander. Financial and lifestyle audits needs to be run is to find out, is this person complicit or in any way or any matter. So those are very key aspects of what we're dealing with when we come to talking about, will the army, or why is there such with SEPs? The one thing that just before you're coming into it, I just want to say also this. The army, what's already being said, we're now going to get sort of lockdowns in certain areas. You're now going to get increased roadblocks. Excuse me? Doesn't SEPS have a database for all drug dens and illegal shebeens and places like that? That shouldn't your attention should be of those to eliminate it and to charge and to arrest those running those places? Shouldn't you start there? And then you got to say to yourself, wow, you want to do roadblocks? You want to now come and having lockdowns? To what effect? And therein really the challenge is, like one police officer said to me, one of their biggest challenges is the compromise of sector commanders. Now I can just speak here very directly about in Mitchell's Plain. In Mitchell's Plain, for instance, you have sector commanders that are in certain specific sectors between 5 to 7 to 10 years. But the crime in the sector in which he oversees has never dropped.
Oh, wow.
There's no reduction of crime in most of these men's areas. Then you got to tell them, sorry, how do you evaluate and assess this person year on year in terms of how effective is he and why is crime not reduced in the specific areas? Why is there not an immediate investigation being done into why is nothing? Where I live in Beacon Valley, the sector commander in this area has been here for, I think, close to 9 years. And nothing has reduced. Nothing effectively has changed.
Yeah.
The
platforms, and Dean, the platforms, I mean, would the police even listen to a voice like yours? I mean, if you're a voice right in there, are they killing the voices? Are they dousing the voices? Do those voices get any press coverage in any way other than this kind of platform, for example? I feel I'm totally in the dark here because those are the questions that come to my mind. Concerned voices. Are there platforms for those voices?
Unfortunately, I can say the fact is that no. somebody like myself, and this is my personal experience, I am prevented to attend certain policing meetings. I am not invited to certain platforms, and having factual evidence, ground based daily as I walk across different communities, engaging with active people involved in crime and criminality, I am just locked out because somehow or another I am negative. When you speak truth, when you speak justice, when you are forthright and direct, then you're being regarded as not good. You are not good to be dialogue with. You are not positive. You don't give solutions. And everybody is sadly preoccupied with solutions, not knowing what the actual problem is, not knowing where they ought to go. It is the police are so preoccupied in collecting stats, and all that they're doing day on day is arresting chronic sub.
Mm. Yeah,
What do you think he was going to say there, Owen? Oh, we don't want to second guess him, but
yeah,
they are purely gathering statistics and, supporting a particular angle on statistics. What
yeah. Look,
other ways are?
what he's sharing are facts. Is not just saying things for the sake of saying things, or to make himself look like he's on top of it. But what he's sharing right now are facts, and the sad part of it all is people don't like to hear the truth, even in and at that level, in the security justice system, criminal justice system, and these other domains. I guess he's almost back now again. There he is. So yeah, what he says
Who are
is,
they then listening to, Owen? So who are they then listening to? That would be my question. If they're not
Look, it's
listening
not-
to guys like Dean and others on the ground,
Ah.
the faith communities that are located in these communities, I mean,
Well, you see, when the stuff hits the fan, then they run to these organizations. We need help. We need the church. We need, some politicians who we need to draw from you. We need to draw from you, but there's nothing that really changes. We're gonna talk about the involvement of the church a little later, and in my, as far as I'm concerned, it has made no difference. This thing starts at the top, and it has filtered its way right down to those on the street. And hence we find these criminals are capitalizing on this, because these inside are actually feeding what these people are up to right now in terms of crime. They are feeding it. During our tenure, I would say our tenure, Dean, at the police station where we did our talks and encouraged the police staff there on a weekly basis, we know that guns got missing right there in that police station, on the watch of the station commander. Now this is the problem. This is the problem. You ask, where do those guns come from? The guns that have been taken off the system, that is supposed to be gotten rid of, disposed of, have somehow been reintroduced to another system. So it gets sold far and wide. And who is it that are selling these guns off? None other than those in the criminal justice system. None other than them. And so this is why we have so much killings, we have so much violence on the street, and such little results within the security clusters.
Sure.
And I guess look, this is true. This is reality. So this is what's happening. And you ask yourself the question now, where will it all end? And when will it end?
Well, Owen, other than a question like that, what about asking the flip side of that question then? Where do we start?
Where do we start?
Now, I'm not suggesting that nobody has done anything. You have mentioned that the impact of the believing communities into the situation has made very little impact, had very little impact. So where do we start? Because, I think for us who are on these radio platforms, you don't want to be renaming the animals because we know where the problem is and we know how the problems have come about. And so, where do we suggest, in terms of starting? I mean, I'm not even, I'm sitting here across from Dean and I'm thinking, Dean has been so on the ground that when you hear a radio program like this, you kind of think, ach, asseblief toch, man, not another one adding to stealing more airtime. Could we not be using this airtime in a lot more productive
Constructive.
way? Those are
Yeah.
the questions that come into my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting where Dean is sitting, because Dean is obviously not your first time talking about this stuff. For you as
Yeah.
well, Owen,
Yeah.
because my frustration levels are up so high, it's off the charts already. And I've only been back in here 2 years, just, trying to sort out now, getting used to, connecting with people again. Because it takes a while. You don't just stay out 35 years and you jump back into it as if you've not skipped a beat. That has been the shock to my system. And that's why I'm kind of just really taking, a couple of steps back here. But as I listen to it, I'm thinking, oh my goodness me. If I had one bucket of water, Dean, if you had one bucket of water and you came to your house and your house was on fire, I don't think you're just going to stand there and watch your house burn to the ground. You're going to throw your bucket of water, right? And I'm saying to you, if you had the one bucket of water, just one, and you had to throw it, what bucket of water would you throw at this thing? What would you do if you had one bucket of water? That for me is how dangerous a question this is. Just one, not 2 million.
One bucket of water, my brother. This particular level of crime and criminality, as I have engaged with Owen before, has started back in 2023. From where I come from, in 1994, 1995, we talk about the corruption of the number. When men gone into prison, they took the number in the prison. When they are being discharged, they are not following, as it referred to, the book of the number. They're not following their rules and laws. They now come out, they are in the outside gangs and they undermine it. In 2023, the reversal happened. I did it on a live thing when I confronted Becky Tele. And in that situation, where the numbers gangs, and this will shock you, the numbers gangs within the three numbers of 26, 27, and 28, within the numbers gang, they got what they refer to as the parliament of the number. When all three of them collectively sit together and making collective decisions in their collective interests. So what happened? Every 2 to 3 weeks, live, yes, my brother, live video calls are being made across 7 prisons in the Western Cape, where strategic, targeted information is being provided who should be taken out in the street gangs, people that are not submitting. I don't know if you've seen it in the area where you are, maybe, or you might have seen it, or maybe not. Because wherever you drive now, you see the gang sign, the number of the name of a gang, but you will see the figures 26, 27, or 28. And that is how the conversion has come from what we refer to street level gangs now being captured and coming under the control of the numbers gang. I spoken directly, sent messages, video, voice note messages, typed messages to this new Minister of Correctional Service. Multiple prisons are being stopped and searched outside of Cape Town, but no dedicated operations are being done, in particular the 7 prisons. And I will put myself out there, and my life has been threatened more than enough. But I will tell you, which of these prisons having live video calls where senior members of the numbers gangs, live video calls, sitting and giving instructions who must fall on the outside. For they do not want to subscribe. They do not want to, it's like we say in Afrikaans, hy wil nie sakkie. He don't want to get under the.
Oh, and that's terrifying stuff. I mean, it's worse than a Colombian prison, man, in terms of what's going down, And I've always kind of had this as a suspicion. What I'm hearing, it's probably a lot worse than purely what I am hearing and seeing on these platforms. And I don't know how you guys are just coping on a day-to-day basis, because if your life gets threatened, I mean, you very quickly, run for cover, because that's what it would cost, speaking truth to power.
Absolutely.
Speaking wisdom to power.
Yeah, right.
Is another issue. But truth to power already is such a, there are so many risks tied to that. And I'm wondering, as Dean has mentioned, having your life threatened, every time you open your mouth, you kind of say, is this even worth it? But you have to keep out, you have to hold out the olive branch, and say, I will do what I need to do. Dean, I was just saying, I don't know how you mentally, process, your life being under threat every time you broach the subject. That's what it's coming down to. Yeah. And I guess what concerns me even more is the clandestine movements of faith communities other than ours, those who are followers of the way. How they are clandestinely moving under this cloak with a very different agenda than even what gangs have, that what drug lords have, but an agenda for domination across the Western Cape and capturing the minds ideologically of our young people to an ideology that is anti the God that we serve and the Christ we stand for. Because that is where I've not said this on the public forum once. It's the first time I'm going to utter it. I am just totally smashed by the fact that our communities are in such dire straits because the people of God have lost their footing. They have lost their vision for their communities. They've lost the clarion call of what it means to reclaim the nations and all of what that means, reclaiming our communities for Jesus and falling victim to the onslaught of the enemy in our community. So, I would love for us, Owen, that we continue this dialogue. I'm just feeling so devastated by the fact I'll be out of the loop for the next couple of months because I'll be in China and I will not be able to go onto these platforms. But really, we've just got 2 more weeks to go before we fly out. But I find it very overwhelming to see what's happening to our people. And we don't have the voices speaking out. Our voices are muffled. I just don't hear them. I don't know what you have to say to that. I really...
look, it's rather sad. Sorry, Terry. It's rather a sad reality, and I would agree with you that we need to continue this conversation. Yes, we should not stop. If there's a few people that are going to be able to speak into it, then I think us who have access to these platforms must really take advantage of it. Take advantage of it in a good sense, and really, speak some hope, because it's pointless having a channel, whereby, we can speak, where hope can speak louder than fear, which is obviously what we stand for. And being bold and unapologetic, I think people need hope more than anything else today. But it's not the kind of false hope that's being given to people from Cowards Castles platforms, from those who are pontificating every Sunday morning, and I'm not trying to speak down on them, please, but they need to start, speaking about the real things. Because when people leave those places, those houses of worship, they go back to these hellholes. Some might not even reach home, caught in a crossfire. I was just listening to one of the MPs last week sometime, and he said that within Hanover Park, Dean, this might not shock you, you might be aware of it, that there was this gang fight that was that was taking place, and they were sharing fire. They were shooting across at each other, huge gang fight, and they were exchanging fire. Then they caught this 15-year-old guy, one of the gang members, caught this 15-year-old guy, caught him in a sense. He was just there, and they used him. They used him as a human shield, and they pumped his body full of bullets. The other gang, the rival gang, and eventually they shot this guy because a couple of bullets went right through this boy, 15-year-old boy, in Hanover Park, the police station just a couple of kilometers down the road. And this is the problem. This is the problem. How many more people will have to die? When I think about what Scripture says, about when Cain killed his brother, am I right? The Bible says that the blood of his brother cried out from the ground. And I believe that the blood of so many young people, older people, innocent people, babies, children, toddlers, are crying out in the street for revenge. Avenge my death. And not in a bad way. And I don't believe that anybody wants to render evil for evil, because evil cannot overcome evil, but good can overcome evil. And there's so much happening within our community. Dean, we're going to have to, wrap it up right now, but we're going to come back to this conversation, because I believe this is just the hors d'oeuvres to get into greater conversation. So you've been there on the ground. You've seen it happening. You've watched, these things. You have, I think, first-hand information concerning this. That I'm talking about here, and the people out there just hear the tidbits. They just see the tidbits on the news. They don't get the gory details thereof. And how many people are crying? How many mothers are crying? How many parents? How many? Oh man! It's just sad. It's sad, and you feel as if you are hopeless. What is it that you can do? Look, I've resigned myself from the fact that, and don't get me wrong, I've resigned myself from the fact right now to go and stand with the Bible in front of somebody and preach to them. No, we need to have a conversation. Come, sir, we need to have a conversation. What is the root of your frustration? Why is it that you are killing your own brothers? Why is it that colored people are killing colored people? What's going on? What is the root of the frustration? Talk to me. Why are you so angry? Why have you turned to that way of life? What is going on? You may be living in the heart of these ganglands, and I lived in the heart of gangland, believe me, when I was growing up. Mannenberg, right now, it's one of the worst places to be, where I stayed, but I had a choice. Yes. Many of them were my friends, and we associated, with them. And if my mom didn't decide, look, we're moving out of this place, I guess, I would have been one of them. Yeah, look, I identified myself as one of them because we're friends. But it's always the older guys, the bigger guys that sees this, the junior recruits, and we need to recruit a few, because we're not going to be around forever. And this is the thing. If we can recruit people who are like us, juniors like us, I think it'll make a little bit of a difference. The church hasn't made a dent yet. Sadly so. The church has not made even a dent.
And
So
even just if I can interject there, Pastor Owen, the sad thing it is, even with criminal gangs and people actively in gangs, they, as like I many times say, our people are so intoxicated with religion. They are criminal gangs are very comfortable with religion. They are very, it's okay, it's fine. Some might even go to church. Some might even have members that are, dad is a pastor, mother is actively involved in church, and their capacity to exploit what's happening in communities and use it to their own advantage. But where it's one of the big things that is lacking with amongst Christians, it's again, we have preoccupation of wanting to make people happy and be nice and good to people, except of being truthful and
yeah,
And I think, Owen, I would want to say, I'd love to hear from you and Dean, because we only got 2 more weeks in the country. Because I'm going to use my time away overseas as a time to research. And if there's anything in particular you'd love for me to research, I'd be willing to do that. I won't have access to, the broadcast platform at all out of China. The risks are just so great. So I'm not going to do that. But I can use it as research time to put some research together. And I mean, Dean is such a key guy on the ground. I'd love for us to continue the discussion, even if it's by way of, WeChat. How do we see solutions activated in our different communities to
yeah,
this? That's what I would like to say, because I won't be able to go on the platforms again over the
yeah.
next 3 to 6 months, which is a long
All right.
time.
Yeah, it
Long
is. It
time.
is. It is. Yeah. All right. We will certainly, um, uh, do that for you. Well, we'll continue the conversation, Dean and I. And if
Oh,
by
please
any
do.
chance, yeah, and if by any chance you are able to have access to this platform, we would love to also hear from you, my China, and see how things are going
Yep.
with you there in China.
From China. I definitely love to do that, Owen. Definitely love to do that. And
Yeah.
communicate it to Dean. And I would
Yes.
love to, I'd love physical contact with him, but just with, a week and a half, 2 weeks to go, it's too crazy,
Yeah, look,
There's
you
no
you
way I'm
you probably come back. You'll probably be back here just during the heart of winter, or just as winter is busy leaving.
Yep.
But be that as it may, we'll get together. We'll have to get an in studio conversation. I think would be much better than we don't lose signal, and because it's important to continue the conversation of this nature.
That's right.
We have
Keep the
to.
momentum going, Owen. Keep the
Absolutely,
momentum going. Yeah,
that's right.
I'm quite emotive about the Cape Town situation. It
Yeah.
is dire, and it's
Yes.
easy to run away. I mean,
Yeah.
easy for me to sit in Gordon's Bay because I'm generally untouched.
Mm.
Generally untouched. I'm not saying never say
Yeah.
never.
Yes.
I don't hear gunshots at night.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
and for those, if you live closer to the situation, it's a very different ballgame. So I appreciate you having me on the
Well,
platform. And
it's been a pleasure, Terence, and I'm sure that the listeners and those who are watching, and who will be watching, will also enjoy the conversation. Any closing thoughts?
well, my closing thoughts is I still love our age-old song. Jesus is the answer for the world today, but I need to figure out what the questions are. And the
Mm.
questions across the Cape Flats are very interesting and quite different. I don't think we've faced anything like it.
Yeah.
The history of the Cape Flats. This is quite a different ball game, and I come at it with trepidation. Yeah, fear, because it's so different. It lands so differently on my ear.
Yes.
I grew up very safely in an upper middle class community.
Yeah.
You were quite further north of me. So you are right inside of it,
Yes.
but really just want to keep the contact.
All
That when we
right.
get back, we can join the dialogue and be involved on the ground. Yep.
All right. Okay. So thank you once again, Terry. But of course, you only leave. We'll have one more session with you, won't we?
Well, if we can push it in, we push it in. Yeah, just let me know. Uh,
Yes.
at least one more would do it.
All right.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It would be
I
great.
think with Dean, you need to have a block where you can, like something of what is done on some of the platforms on TV. But again, it's very selective. But to have him on quite regularly, because
Yeah.
if you have a finger on the pulse, you can have guys praying for these kinds of situations. I think it's
Yes.
just a voice that is so muffled
Absolutely.
and drowned out. It doesn't
Mm.
exist, and it's really there. So that would be my closing remark. Yeah,
All
I
right.
have him on a lot particularly. Yep.
Thank you, Terence. Thank you, Terence. All right. Thank you
You're
for those
welcome.
of you who have been watching. This is Hope Talk, Owen Hendricks. And we really do want to thank God for you who have been viewing here this afternoon. Thank God for Terence and Dean. Sadly, we had to lose him because of connectivity problems, but we will be back very soon, and we'll be populating this program with much more of this real talk about real issues affecting real people in a real society. We need to hear. We need to hear more of this. And we want to bring hope in the midst of all the fear that is going on out there. God bless you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in to Hope Talk SA. We love you, and we'll say to you, God loves you, and we love you too. Goodbye.